So I'm here with
JP Gregory.
Okay, you're head of
exterior design at Bentley. I think a very big discussion point for us when wanting to create the ultimate Grand Tourer is actually the proportions of the car. So we've had a fantastic proportional gain on this all-new Continental GT, which have given us a lot more athletic proportions. The front axle is slipped forward 135 millimeters, which gives us what we call a better dash-to-axle or prestige mass, and it gives you a much more Grand Touring proportion. So then we move into the signature lines, and of course on the Continental our signature lines are called the power line and the haunch. The power line comes over the front wheel and the haunch comes over the rear wheel. Now the exciting part for us is how we interpreted them with the surfaces in between the lines. And on this new Continental we've gone a lot more dramatic, a lot more sculptural, and we've used very unusual and exclusively luxury manufacturing techniques and processes to achieve that. So the front fender and also the whole of that side panel where the haunch sits is made from a superform technique. It's a technique we take from aerospace industry, and it allows us a lot more freedom in the design to create a lot more dramatic sculpture, concave and convex surfaces and very, very, very sharp lines. So it allowed us to kind of really dial up that Bentley brutishness that we all know and love.
Heat it up, it's superform. To what temperature?
I think it's around 400 degrees. The aluminium gets super, super hot, and then you can really, really refine those lines and define very, very sharp lines.
It's super sharp, like when you go near it.
It is, it's absolutely fantastic, and it looks obviously even better in the daylight. So, the front of the car as well, I guess the Continental GT you could say is our icon, so it was important that it was instantly recognisable as a Continental. We've taken elements that are familiar, but again we've moved them forward in a more modern way. And you can see the front light is actually even like a diamond. We're inspired by cut crystal and whiskey glass, and that was our original inspiration. You saw something similar on the EXP 10 Speed 6 concept from Geneva 2 years ago, and we've interpreted through to production, and we've managed to get it to work with all the legal and functional restrictions that we saw. The rear of the car, I would say, is probably our most progressive part of the car in terms of design. We've really taken a big step forward. So first of all, we wanted to make something very, very clearly recognisable and iconic in the taillight graphic. So in the lip shape, which is synonymous inside all of the Bentley lamps, we've actually just simplified it.
When you create something like that for a concept, you're never sure whether it will make it to production, right?
Absolutely not, and it's always a great challenge for a designer to work with the engineers to achieve that. But it also shows that actually that's the relevance of concept cars, because you free your mind, you create something spontaneous, and then the challenge is then to realise it for production so people can buy it.
So hi Adam, it's great to see you again, and it's lovely to meet you again in the Bentley Continental GT.
Finally got in.
Yeah, a new car. I mean, I think the first thing you'll notice is that there's no screen in the centre of the dashboard. It's just a beautiful piece of veneer with a beautiful metal chrome line running right round through the bullseye vent and into the doors. And I think this is really what sets the Bentley out as unique. Most cars here at the show have a big screen in the middle. Bentley has a beautiful piece of wood.
Bang on, I want a touchscreen though.
Of course, you want a touchscreen, you want the information, start the engine, and you'll find the car comes to life, the screen will rotate, and you're greeted with a 12.3-inch retina quality display.
Look at that.
There it is, flush as well to the sides of the wood, beautifully integrated, and you can use the touch functions if you want to, and you can obviously use the haptic functions, just like we developed in our Bentayga. The gaps each side here are 0.3 millimeters.
Yes, unbelievable.
But the screen itself is flush with the metal and the wood. This little finger bar here is there to steady your hand when you're driving, so you can use the touch controls really easily. Of course, as I said before, you can use these buttons to either shut the screen off or to go through the different menus. You can see how quickly it works, beautifully smoothly. So if you're jumping into a car, select reverse, it immediately turns so you can have your rear view camera. But the amazing thing about this car is when you're driving and you want to, almost the antidote to technology, you have a third side to the display, which are 3 beautiful auxiliary instruments.
That's actually stunning, isn't it?
Again, matched veneers on 2 sides, the chrome line runs through. This time you have 3 instruments. You have an outside air temperature gauge, a beautiful compass which spins round, and lap timer. All of these have digital displays built in, so you have this mix of analog and digital. And actually this summarises our brand pillars: driving, luxury and performance. This is what Bentley's all about. And I'm sure in 50 years time at Pebble Beach, when all the other cars from 2017 have the technology which is out of date, Bentley will be there with this beautiful veneer, wonderfully aged, all of the details still intact, a true Grand Tourer.
So tell us about this special material. It's on
the console.
On the console.
Yeah. So this is Côte de Genève. It is inspired by the watch industry. If you look in the back of many expensive watches, you'll find these sort of patterns which are machined into the mechanisms. And we've developed our own Côte de Genève for Bentley Continental GT. It's machined on 0.6mm thick aluminium with a milling machine which leaves the swirl pattern in the metal, and each of these steps is only 0.1mm high, with a 5mm step which looks perfect on the interior. Genuine metal, no printing, no pressing, machined into the car.
Amazing in person.
Yeah. But if you look closely, you'll see also on all of these rotaries, which are metal of course, this new diamond knurl. We have it on all the main rotaries, the bullseyes and clock as an option. You can see on the stalks as well. And these are little diamonds. Each diamond is tipped at 0.3mm to create a wonderful haptic feel. Not only does it shimmer in the light, looks aesthetically pleasant, it works as well. It's a very functional detail.
And look how you produce air from here. You pull that out.
You pull the little organ stop, which is knurled as well, and then the airflow will start to come.
Classic. Love that.
If you look really closely in the vents and in the clocks, you'll see a bronze line that runs around the inside.
Oh yeah.
If you look down at these rotaries, you'll see it as well.
Is that a new touch?
This is a new touch, and really we're paying homage to W.O. Bentley, our founder, an engineer. Bronze being a bearing type metal structure, we wanted to create something which really went well with the piano black and the chrome, and I think we've achieved it with this. The top of the dashboard is totally devoid of vents, airbag seams, speakers. It's just one beautiful piece of leather stretching across the dashboard. And of course, when you're driving fast or when you're driving for a long distance, you want to reduce the visual noise when you're driving. You'll notice how the head-up display is totally integrated. If you look at the headliner, it's one beautiful piece of leather, stretching from the front all the way to the back, seamless, without any stitching, any lines.
How many hides we used?
We used 10 hides in this car.
In each car?
In each car. In fact, it takes 1,000 of our colleagues to build the car. It's 100 hours to build a Bentley Continental GT, 10 hides for one car.
And you're telling me about the stitching, it's like miles of stitching, 2 miles of stitching
I mean,
or something, isn't it?
Bentley's synonymous with quilting. You look at my seat here, you can see a classic Bentley quilt, but what's unique about this is inside each diamond there is a sub-diamond which is embroidered. And each of these embroidery diamonds has 712 stitches, every single one. If you look really close, you'll see the top stitch is vertical, the stitch at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock is horizontal, and the bottom stitch is vertical. This allows us to create a perfect point to each element of a diamond. So every diamond in the car has 712 stitches. There's 2.8 kilometers of thread used in the car, and we have 310,000 stitches in a Bentley Continental GT.
Hence why it takes so long to make it.
Of course. Yeah. But our customers really appreciate this attention to detail.
Of course they do, yeah.
They buy lovely clothes, they have wonderful furniture, they have lovely watches, and they expect nothing less inside the car. And this is of course what we set out to achieve.
And how much do one of these go for now?
So the base price of this car is just under 200,000 euros. And of course you can specify the car up higher with different options,
yep.
Tailored to driving, tailored to touring. And one of the other things I should tell you about is the digital instrument display in front of me. And this is really important to the design, because if you're going to switch off the main screen in the middle of the car, you have to be able to control the details through the steering wheel and the digital instruments. So of course you can choose using the buttons on the steering wheel, things like the map for instance. You can zoom in and zoom out. If you look closely, I can press the view button and you have 2/3 of the digital instrument is then down to the map, 1/3 is then for the rev counter, inspired by a Speed 6 concept car.
No, I like that.
The other thing which is really nice is when I go back to the dials, you can actually select a mode which is called reduced display. So by pressing this, it turns each of the needles into a torch. And the little torch just shines only on the numbers where you are active.
Awesome.
So at night time, you have a very minimum of visual clutter.
Yeah, you don't want it half the time, do you?
No.
So,
you can even choose...
and that works well with these dials as well.
Yeah, and you can actually also choose whether you want the speedometer or the rev counter on the left or the right. And these are the sort of things you can only do with digital instruments. You can't do it in an analog world. But unlike most of our competitors, we've designed our instruments in 3D, so they could have been machined, but they're rendered and laid out in 3D inside the combi. And of course this gives this real realism, perfect realism if you like, to the way the car looks. It's logically laid out. You have the fuel on one side, the water temperature on the other, all the functions down here, for instance, what gear you're in, what mode you're in. So we're in Bentley mode at the moment, but one click of this dial to the left gives you sport, one click of a dial to the right gives you comfort. And this is the beauty about a Bentley Continental GT. It's very intuitive to use. Everything's grouped together. This is all about the drive, this is all about the heating systems, this is all about the media. So it's logical when you're driving the car, how it all works.
Let's give that another spin, actually.
Yeah.
It's such a good feature of the car.
So it's really firm in position as a touch screen, so you'd expect it to be very, very firm. One press of a button, it moves forward, spins, gives you the dials.
It comes out slightly, yeah.
When you switch off the car, what happens? It all folds away, and you're left with, again, this beautiful matched piece of veneer through the car.
It's exceptional, absolutely exceptional. I love it. Good. All right, thanks a lot, Dan.
It's a pleasure. Lovely to see you again.
All right, take care.